From legendary seductresses to ruthless tyrants, history is packed with queens who left a trail of controversy in their wake. Today, on this channel, we're looking at 5 of the most hated queens ever. These women weren't afraid to play by their own rules, and let's just say, those rules often left a bitter taste in people's mouths. Cleopatra. Cleopatra VII, the last active ruler of the Ptolemaic Kingdom of Egypt, occupies a complex and controversial place in history. While she is celebrated for her intelligence, political savvy, and cultural influence, she is also vilified in many historical accounts, particularly those written by her Roman adversaries. We have no clear picture of Cleopatra's looks. The art and descriptions we have come from much later periods, leaving us to wonder what she truly looked like. One reason Cleopatra is often portrayed as a hated figure is her association with powerful Roman leaders, namely Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. Her alliances with these men were seen as threats to Roman authority and stability, leading to her demonization in Roman propaganda. Cleopatra's involvement with Caesar and Antony, particularly her romantic entanglements, fueled rumors of manipulation and seduction, contributing to her negative portrayal in historical narratives. Cleopatra's reign coincided with a period of political upheaval and tension between Egypt and Rome. Her efforts to maintain Egyptian independence and resist Roman encroachment were viewed unfavorably by those who sought to expand Roman influence in the region. As a result, Cleopatra's resistance to Roman domination further fueled animosity towards her among certain factions in both Egypt and Rome. It's important to acknowledge the biases inherent in historical accounts of Cleopatra. Much of what is known about her comes from sources written by her enemies, which may exaggerate or distort her actions and character for political purposes. While Cleopatra is often depicted as a hated queen in history, understanding the context in which Cleopatra lived and ruled is essential to comprehending her place among history's most polarizing figures. Marie Antoinette. Marie Antoinette, the queen consort of France during the late 18th century, is a figure whose reputation is steeped in controversy and intrigue. The last queen of France, she is famous for being publicly guillotined following the abolition of the monarchy in France. Arrested, tried, and publicly executed, Marie Antoinette's fate remains a haunting symbol of one of history's bloodiest revolutions. Unlike during her early years in France, where she initially captivated the public, Marie Antoinette's reign as queen was marked by a series of scandals and controversies. Her extravagant hairstyles, which were the height of fashion at the time, further fueled her image as a symbol of excess and aristocratic decadence. Marie Antoinette's foreign birth and perceived influence over her husband, King Louis XVI, made her a target of suspicion and animosity among French revolutionaries. She was Austrian by birth, and her marriage to Louis XVI was seen as a political alliance rather than a union based on love or loyalty to France. This perception, combined with her supposed interference in political matters, further fueled anti-monarchical sentiment and contributed to her vilification as a symbol of royal excess and tyranny. Her reputation for excess and perceived indifference to the plight of the French people reached its climax when she allegedly remarked, "Let them eat cake," upon hearing that the peasants had no bread to eat. While historians debate whether she actually said these words, the sentiment encapsulated the widespread belief that Marie Antoinette was callous and disconnected from the struggles of the lower classes. 9 months after the execution of her husband, King Louis XVI, a revolutionary tribunal tried Marie Antoinette on trumped-up charges, including high treason, sexual promiscuity, and even incestuous relations with her own son. Forced to endure a harrowing trial and face baseless accusations, she was portrayed as a symbol of the corrupt monarchy and its disregard for the suffering of the French people. Mary Tudor. Queen Mary I, the first woman to rule England in her own right, underwent a remarkable transformation from a much-revered successor to a figure of hate in a mere 5 years. Known to most as Bloody Mary, Mary Tudor ascended to the throne in 1553, following the death of her half-brother, Edward VI. Initially, Mary was welcomed as a symbol of stability and legitimacy after the tumultuous reigns of her father, King Henry VIII, and her half-brother, Edward VI. Her accession promised a return to traditional Catholic values, which resonated with a significant portion of the population who remained loyal to the Catholic faith. However, Mary's reign quickly descended into a reign of terror as she fervently sought to restore Catholicism to England. Her religious policies, aimed at eradicating Protestantism, led to widespread persecution and executions of Protestant dissenters. Hundreds of Protestants were burned at the stake for heresy, earning Mary the infamous nickname, Bloody Mary, and cementing her legacy as one of history's most hated queens. Mary's marriage to Philip II of Spain, a staunch Catholic monarch, further fueled suspicion and hostility among her subjects, who feared Spanish interference in English affairs. Additionally, Mary's inability to produce a Catholic heir and her failed attempts to suppress Protestantism ultimately undermined her reign and contributed to her downfall. Despite her initial popularity and the hopes pinned on her reign, Mary's ruthless pursuit of religious conformity and her brutal persecution of dissenters tarnished her reputation irreparably. Today, she is primarily remembered as Bloody Mary, a monarch whose zeal for religious orthodoxy left a dark and enduring stain on English history. Queen Ranavalona of Madagascar. Queen Ranavalona was a firebrand ruler who ascended the throne in 1828. While hailed as a national heroine today for resisting colonialism, her reign was a brutal paradox. Nicknamed Ranavalona the Cruel, she ruled with an iron fist. Obsessed with maintaining Madagascar's independence, she expelled all Europeans, severed trade ties, and ruthlessly crushed any hint of dissent. Her paranoia brought a reign of terror. Accusations of treason led to horrifying ordeals, like the Tangina poison test, forcing people to consume a deadly concoction or face execution. People suspected of witchcraft were often buried alive. The economic impact was devastating. The kingdom became increasingly isolated, plunging into poverty. Grandiose public works projects, like the construction of royal palaces, drained resources, leading to famines. Estimates suggest the population might have halved under her rule. Ranavalona's legacy is a bloody double-edged sword. She stood defiant against European colonizers, a symbol of fierce national pride. But the cost was immense. A reign of fear, economic hardship, and a decimated population. Isabella II of Spain. Queen Isabella II of Spain ascended to the throne at the tender age of 13, inheriting a kingdom plagued by political instability and social unrest. Despite her youth, Isabella's reign was immediately marked by controversy, beginning with her tumultuous marriage and personal scandals that would later shape her legacy. Described as lazy and ignorant by her detractors, Isabella's reputation suffered further as she took on numerous lovers and attempted to marry outside of the established royal circles. These actions alienated her from the Spanish people, who grew increasingly disillusioned with her extravagant lifestyle and perceived disregard for their well-being. One particularly harrowing incident occurred when an assailant attempted to stab Isabella, only to be thwarted by her corset. This assassination attempt, while unsuccessful, served as a stark reminder of the growing discontent and anger directed toward the Queen. As calls for political reform grew louder, Isabella found herself unable to respond effectively, further eroding her support among the populace. Critics labeled her as an overweight queen who was incapable of addressing the pressing issues facing Spain, including demands for constitutional monarchy and social justice. Ultimately, Isabella II was forced into exile following the Glorious Revolution, becoming the second Queen of Spain to be dethroned in such a manner.